Good morning. I think I heard you. Let's hear do it again. Good morning. Much better. Okay. My name is Dolores Fitch, and I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as one of your boards of trustee members. I'm happy to welcome you all to Tahoma Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I still have trouble with putting Universalist in. Longtime members and new visitors alike, you are welcome here. Whether you're joining us here on site in the sanctuary or online from another location, we're glad you are here. We are one people of many beliefs and many origins, sexualities, and gender, and love is the power that holds us together. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. You are welcome just as you are. If this is your first time with us, sorry, I bid you a special welcome. I'm so glad. Okay, I have a frog. Where'd it come from? I'm so glad you found your way to our community. After the service, I'll be in the back of the sanctuary back there to answer any questions you may have about Unitarian Universalism, about our congregation, or if you want to talk about how to get involved in our community, please feel free to join me. For those of you here in the sanctuary, we have hearing-assisted devices and large print hymnals in the back of the sanctuary. Our ushers, I don't know where they're at, will be happy to help you with these. For our service this morning, our online chat chaplain will help guide our online folks, and for those of us on site, we'll be utilizing the screen behind me to project the words for our unison reading and lyrics to our hymns. You can also follow along with the printed order of service. You can find information on our website, tahomauu.com. Please be sure to read the weekly e-news for important information about our congregation, upcoming events, and volunteer opportunities. If you aren't yet signed up for e-news, you can do that today on our website so you don't miss a thing. There's a lot happening here at Tacoma UU. I want to highlight just a few exciting announcements. Number one is we have no one to staff the morning for the children's RE. So if anybody wants, oh, I see one hand. Thank you so much. That means if we can get someone else. Yeah, we have to have two. Can we browbeat? Oh, we got another, two hands. So sure those two. Okay. Thank you. Oh, water. Maybe that'll help. Okay. Now for our announcements. The week of the 18th, if anybody has anything scheduled for the week of the 18th, we're getting our new windows in. Yay, finally. And we have heat. As I walked through the door there, I felt it blowing on me. And third Friday potluck is this coming Friday. Show up at 11:45. Dave Pettit is in charge of that. So anything that goes wrong, it's his fault. Oh, Janie. So it's all Janie's fault. Okay, Janie. And we all know Janie, I think. Most of us do. Anyway, the potluck is always fun. And good food to boot. Does anybody have any more announcements that we need to? I don't see any hands. Okay. I'll go on with the shorter part of my part. Again, you can check out the e-news for more information about these and many ways to become involved and deeply connected with our spiritual community. You're also invited to join us for our social hour immediately following the service right here in the sanctuaries, right over there. More fresh coffee will come up. There will be coffee and refreshments. It's a great time to catch up or to get to know someone new. For those of you who are who are new to our community, we have red coffee mugs for you to use if you'd like to identify yourself and chat. As we begin our service, I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you from the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup tribal nation, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I affirm in the continuing sovereignty of the 574 federally recognized tribe including the 29 here in Washington, and support those still fighting for federal recognition. I acknowledge the theft, the violence, the trauma, the racism that Indigenous people have experienced at the hands of the colonizers from 1492 through the present day. I honor the resiliency of the Indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to fight for land, water, visibility, sovereignty, and their very existence. Lastly, friends, I invite you to set your electronics devices to worship mode. We are gathered here, one community together. Let us set ourselves into this holy moment and open our hearts and learn and unlearn to share and receive. Now let's join together.
Imagine a world that knows no hunger. Imagine a world where none live in fear. Imagine a world of infinite beauty, given for all to share. Imagine a place that's ours to discover. Imagine a place where children run free. Imagine a place where dreams are created. Imagine and believe. Like a song, sweet melody filling the air, surrounding us all as one. Make a wish, believe, and imagine it all can be done. Imagine a time for younger and older. Imagine a time for you and for me. Imagine a time remembered forever. Imagine and believe. Like a song, sweet melody filling the air, surrounding us all as one. Make a wish, believe, and imagine it all can be done. And believe. And believe.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm the Reverend Margo Rinehart, and I am recently the new minister here. So good to be with you. Our opening words are practice repair from David McFarland. Bless generously, practice repair. Lean into comfort zones, strengths, inklings of bliss. practice, repair. Pause to ask whether words both skillful and absolutely necessary. Practice, repair. Sing full-throated songs that create and recreate beloved community. Practice, repair. Let go of stubborn righteousness and have mercy. Practice, repair. Smile, practice. Multiply joy, divide sorrow, and practice. With tools in your hand, practice, repair. Perhaps I have tools you could borrow. Perhaps you could lend me from yours. And together, we will practice, repair.
I'd like to invite David Pettit to light our chalice. And please join me as we read our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness and love, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. And rise in body or spirit to sing from the teal hymnal, hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
It is time for me to call up anyone who is young at heart, children of all ages. All right. Great. So last Sunday, I actually got to be downstairs with the kids, which was really fun. And I know I didn't meet all of you there because you weren't all here last week, but we'll get another chance at it. And thanks for making me feel so welcome because I'm new here. So this is a story you might have heard before. It's called The Three Questions, and it's based on a short story written by a famous adult author, Leo Tolstoy, who wrote really long books, but they were so interesting, people read them. So, so today, all week, the adults have been thinking about, we had a national election, we had elections at the state level, we had elections in our counties, and adults are figuring out, what do we do now that we have all these new initiatives and people, and what's going to happen? So this book is about being in the here and now. Don't get your thoughts kind of run away from you sometimes, and you start worrying about things. It's like, what's going to happen tomorrow in class? What's going to happen next week with my friend? And this is kind of about just staying in the moment. All right. So a little something to think about over the next, for the adults here and us, about being kind of in the moment and noticing who needs your help. All right, we'll sing them off to class.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life, we hold you in our love as you go.
We have been warmed by the fires we did not build. We have drunk at wells we did not dig. In acknowledgement of our many blessings and many needs, if you're able and if you have not already done so, you may place your contribution in the baskets about to be provided.
Please join me in our words of dedication. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and within these walls. Our meditation hymn is number 15 in the gray hymnal, The Lone Wild Bird. We haven't sung it in a while, so Marianne is going to play through it one time.
Got a little sip of my tea here. The reading is called Mending by Atena O. Danner. And let me just preface this by saying she writes this. She's a Unitarian Universalist. She writes this to be shared. She is a Black activist, and she knows how important it is for Black, Indigenous, and other people of color to be able to have space away from oppression and space away from always having things asked of them. So she writes this to people who need rest. If you are feeling worn thin and riddled with holes, I hope you will take comfort in the fact that much can be mended. Mending comes in many forms, and be aware, mending won't make a thing new. You will be the same as what makes you, you. Yourself patched up, pulled together, and swiftly sewn. If you've got time for darning, it is work, work, work. Tedious as meditation, but sometimes just as rewarding. Just do what you have time for. My fabric has lots of holes. I am grateful for the stars because I can see through them. The sunlight warming of my blood. I mend some, I leave some, mend some, leave some. Patching in remnants of steel wire and my own voice. You deserve. It will be okay. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep sewing. Truth holds together, and I wear the truth I've told. When places in life tear and wear thin, examine the frayed edges and threadbare patches. And if they tear, appreciate the light coming in as you learn how best to mend. Let's just exhale. Just exhale. What a week. What a month. What a year. And I hope you brought your worries, your successes, your fears, your hope, your grief. I hope you just brought it all in this morning. I hope we are just so human here this morning that we don't have to pretend to be having any other feelings than the ones we're actually having. And it's so good to be here. I was realizing on election day, I had on that day served my first 30 days as your minister. And I was like, what a day to have that happen. Ah, what a day to have that anniversary. But I was glad. And I was really looking forward to being with you this morning. It was really difficult to create a service for today. And I was asking both the celebrant and the worship associate and our pianist, can you hold on till I talk to enough people that I know kind of what the message is I need to let us expand on. So we're mostly going to talk about repair. But I do this from time to time. I need a little input from you. I have some choices for you about how you want me to talk about this. And you can vote more than once, okay? So I'm just going to give you the two choices. I'm trying to get away from my post-election emotions, and I can barely think through it. 2, we are in so much trouble as a nation. I want to hear something real and future-focused. And I often have a third one, which is, could you just be really brief, Margo, so we could just, get through this? Okay, so you can vote as many times as you want. I want you to put up your hands. And part of the reason I want you to put up your hands is so you can see what the people around you are feeling. And it is also okay to pass. You don't have to put your hand up at all if you don't want to. So a show of hands for, I'm trying to get away from the post-election moments. I can barely think. So take a look around. The second one is, my fear is high as we are in a lot of trouble as a nation. I want to hear something real and future focused. Oh, wow. Okay. And 3, I'm so tired. Let's just stop hearing about it and go straight to coffee. Okay. That was super helpful. And I think it's good for all of us to see how the rest of us are doing. So I will do this from time to time at sermon time. No matter what our hopes were for the election, I think most of us are just glad it's over. That anxiety and tension that built up to it, and honestly, the words, the ads, I was just so tired of it. And when it was over, I knew we could start the building and the rebuilding. But that is after we pause. We pause for grief. We pause for hope. We pause to think about our own tiredness or maybe even exhaustion, to think about our worries and maybe they've gone beyond worries and they are fears. I'm also going to talk this morning about repairing clothes and hearts and hopes and what's going on around here. I want to start with a tribute to the candidates who ran that we supported because their actions were in concert with our Unitarian Universalist values. Candidates who succeeded in their races and those who did not. And for those who did not, we especially honor them. Well, I'm still not mentioning any names, and nor am I going to make assumptions that we are all Democrats, because I am sure there are Republicans, there are independents, there are libertarians, there are people who come with different thoughts about politics. So let's think about those candidates who ran so bravely. And I have a reading from The Citizenship in the Republic by Theodore Roosevelt. It does have some sexist language, but I've decided to leave it mostly in its original form. Roosevelt says, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man or woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes in short. Because there is no effort without error and without shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends themselves in worth of a cause? Who at best, in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So there were many candidates who shared our Unitarian Universalist values: inherent worth, a true democratic process, compassion, equity, justice. Those people faced an uphill battle in the election. They knew this and they ran anyway. They were all in knowing that they faced hostile exposure, not only for themselves, but for their families, for their loved ones. And the questions they said yes to as they made those decisions to run is, will I engage fully with all my heart, my mind, and my resources? And they said yes and did so with their actions. We honor them because they dared greatly, and we honor our own contribution to their work. What I'm going to say next is going to sound like a non sequitur, but it isn't. I've been spending time in this building over the past few weeks, and I've been chatting with Alvin Rose, the person who is repairing the handrails outside the building. I think Alvin popped in here just this morning for a little bit. He passes on each time I see him a piece of advice from his grandmother, who was the wisest person in Alvin's life, or in his immediate sphere. I also noticed about Alvin that he employed 2 unhoused people in our immediate community to help him with a few facets of his project. The piece of advice from Alvin's grandmother that seems especially timely is you can't walk forward when you are looking at the ground. You can't walk forward when you're looking at the ground. And I think sometimes we have to look down just to get our bearings, but we still have to move forward. So I said, Alvin, can I use that in a sermon? And I wrote it on an envelope and I wrote down some other things. I just found it to be particularly useful advice as I thought about the aftermath of the election. I thought about, I might have to stop and just see what the path looks like, but I am going to go forward. I'm also betting that Alvin's grandmother, like my mother and grandmother, probably sewed patches on the elbows of shirts and the knees of pants. What I notice is often, regardless of people's economic level, some people just like to sew on patches. Even if they could afford the new shirt or the new pair of pants, they'd rather mend what they already have, because the garment is still fundamentally good. So this is literally what Alvin's been doing for our building. A car knocked out, if you're newer here, a car knocked out part of the railing system out here. And it's my understanding the driver was not seriously hurt, thank goodness. And while working, he noticed the rain and the chill, but it didn't stop him from getting the job done. But he did kind of have to gauge, well, maybe I can't do it all today. Maybe I have to pull back a little, come back another day, take another try at it. And when he noticed 2 people who needed a little validation, Alvin's like, hey, they can help me with the repair. They worked as a team, repairing the loss to the building and building something better. That also went on to furnace replacements and repairs. The furnace system needed, I guess, complete replacement in parts, repairs, and others. And wow, look up and see these brand new heat pumps. There's 3 of them in here. And while at an initial glance, you can think about the fact that this might have been about a budget, about getting bids, about supervising the work, paying fees, but it's so much more than that. First, it was about noticing there was a problem. It was about experiencing discomfort and saying something about it. And maybe you weren't warm enough, but it meant noticing discomfort in others. Then you had to decide you're going to pick up this task of repair. It took courage to vote to release those kind of funds for windows and a furnace and heaters. That is a big chunk of change, and you were brave enough to vote for it. Volunteers shepherded the process. The board provided leadership, and you all engaged in that democratic process of voting. What a huge commitment to make this place remain your home. My home too now. The building is warm and safe and inviting. And I hope it's a beacon for the generations to come. That's part of what we want to do here. So let me repeat two things. First, it was about noticing the problem. It was about noticing other people's discomfort. And then it was saying something about it. And maybe you were warm enough and all snuggly in your alpaca sweater, but it meant noticing 2 chairs down, maybe someone was having a different experience. As I apply that to the post-election time, if the rhetoric of some of the newly elected candidates comes to pass, the actions will land much more catastrophically for some people than for others. Those people, using that phrase badly, are actually some of the people in this room: immigrants, trans folk, people of color, other people living on the margins, in fear for their safety or their rights. They just want to thrive. They just want safety for themselves and their families and their loved ones. So we're noticing, I am a white middle-class woman. I have some fears, but I am noticing that there are people around me who have much deeper fears. We are way beyond discomfort. So let us meet that moment, even though it's hard, with our hearts and our hands and our time, money available. Meet the moment and stand together. I think it's really important also to take time to restore our souls. The repair work needs to be done in here with our neighbors and in our community. I go back again and again to the words of activist and author Terry Tempest Williams, who's an author out of Utah. She's Mormon. She could be Unitarian Universalist, would not be at all incompatible. And she says, the heart is the first home of democracy. It's where we embrace our questions. Can we be equitable? Can we be generous? Can we listen with our whole beings and not just our minds? Can we offer our attention? Do we have enough resolve in our hearts to act courageously, relentlessly, without giving up, and trusting that our fellow citizens can join with us in pursuit of a living democracy? So given the reports of the voters that I hear over and over again on NPR and other sources, right now, I feel terrible that I feel this way, but I'm just going to disclose it because it's real. And I'm aware I'm on YouTube. I feel terrible that I have this thought, but I have it. I don't trust some of my fellow citizens. People who said hateful, sexist, racist, fascist, and transphobic statements. People who said my own personal experiences are more important than what's good for everyone in this country. I'm not saying that some of those things aren't correct. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what I'm embodying about that is a whole lot of judgment. I'm just dumping my judgment on other people. And I'm like, I think I need to step back. People are just people. And people develop certain beliefs that make them vote in certain ways because they're also anxious and afraid. So I need to be working on this in the next few months. I need to figure out how I'm going to have those conversations with people I don't agree with. I'll never get over a small NPR piece that was just before the 2020 election, and it still brings me to tears every time I think about it. There was an NPR reporter interviewing people outside a restaurant and bar in a little town not far from where I live in Belfair. And Belfair is kind of like a larger version of Shelton, sort of. People from Belfair would not agree with me, but they interviewed a woman in her 50s who was terrified of Biden becoming president. Her terror came from the belief that if Biden was elected, she would lose her home because he would raise her taxes. She was asked why she believed this, and she said in a really shaky voice, "Well, I watched that news of Biden saying, 'I will raise taxes on everyone.'" Now, I don't know if you remember what Biden actually said, but what he actually said is, "I will raise taxes on everyone making over $400,000. That's what Biden actually said. I had seen both clips, both the one that had been cut and the full clip. And what stays with me about this piece and what makes me so emotional is her deep fear that she would lose her modest little house that was almost paid off because Biden promised to raise her taxes. And she only knew that because of this cropped clip of a news program that she watches. She was the victim of deliberate false reporting. She was purposely targeted to be implanted with fear and hopelessness. And that gripping fear must have stayed after the election because Biden was elected. And I can only imagine how many months and maybe years it took for her to realize she wasn't going to lose her home. And I so wanted to, like, if I could just talk to her, if I could show her the other clip, if I could just in some way be with her in a conversation and assuage her concerns. So that's where I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to dump my judgment. I'm trying to get back to a more compassionate place. So this isn't about being in denial. How do we assuage all our fears? And first, I decided I'm just going to give it a little time. I'm going to lean into the support of my friends and my family. I'm going to hope there's still some really gorgeous fall afternoons out there where I can go for a walk. And if there's not, I'm going to grab my umbrella and do it anyway. I went back to yoga this week, which I haven't done in a while, but that's a promise I'm going to make to myself for every Friday morning. I'm also going to visit a Mexican family and a Venezuelan family that I know. I just want to tell them that I care about them and I care about their extended family. I am going to go into the dark time of our solstice winter, the dark time where there's time. There's time to pull back from all the normal busyness. And for me, that means I can stop tending my yard and just see that as a time where I can just start to percolate, incubate something. I'm going to think about where my charitable contributions and my political contributions and where my time can make the most impact over the next 1 to 2 years. Those are the patches I'm going to put on my elbows and on my knees of my recently really tattered clothes. I was cold, cold, cold this week because of my tattered clothes and the wind that was blowing through. We set an intention after the service, so I'm going to ask you to think about 2 things that you can do in the mending process. One for yourself and one maybe for somebody else. I'm not going to close because I'm going on long with a little bit from Parker Palmer. Parker Palmer is a Quaker, and he is the founder of the Center for Courage and Renewal, and he wrote a book called Healing the Heart of Democracy. He and Terry Tempest Williams are very good friends. She was the heart is the first home of democracy. So Parker Palmer has 5 habits for you, for your heart in post-election or pre-election. He says, understand we're all in it together. We already know that because we know there's an interconnected web. His second piece, his second habit, is develop an appreciation of the value of otherness. It's us and them, not us versus them. And I'm going to add, there's no them, it's all us. We're all human. We all have fears. Third, cultivate the ability to hold tension in life-giving ways. And he means tension of the opposites. Don't shut down contradictions, rather allow them to expand your heart. Turn things you don't agree with into insight, energy, create new ideas. And fourth, generate a personal sense of agency, which is about storytelling. Figure out the stories about your experience that you want to tell that you think might be meaningful in this time. I just told you one this morning about how I'm struggling with my judgment. And fifth, strengthen our capacity to create and be nurtured by community. And that's why we're here this morning. But let's not forget, if you've been here for some time, there are many, much newer people here this morning. Let's really extend our warmth and our inclusiveness and welcome them. I know that in the near future and the far future, we're going to have so many opportunities to live into our values and to vote again. Here in a congregation at local and state levels and in our national elections. And the stakes are too high for us to give up on repair or to give in to hopelessness or apathy. The stakes are too high. So let us call on light and love and hope that no one is alone and we are in this together and we will find a way. So let's just take that moment for setting our intention. One self-care thing you're going to do for you. Might be in the next week, might be in the next month, might be today. And one thing you can do for someone else. Invite them for a walk, send them a note. Amen. And now we are going to sing.
Our closing hymn is number 6 in the gray hymnal, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day.
And our closing words, I am a messy speaker. I just let things go all over the place. This is called A Prayer for the Desert Times by the Reverend Margo Rinehart, who's someone I know who died in the last month. The journeys of our lives are never fully charted. They come to each of us as deserts to cross, barren stretches, where the green edge on the horizon may be our destination, or an oasis on our way, or a mirage that beckons us but leaves us lost. When fear grips the heart or despair bows the head, may we bend as heart and head lead us down to touch the ground beneath our feet. May we scoop up some sand into our hands and receive what the sand teaches us. It holds the warmth of the sun when the sun is out, and even when the sun has left our sight. And it holds the cool of the night when the stars have faded. Hidden among its grains are the tiniest seeds at rest and waiting, dormant and yet undefeated. Desert flowers, they endure. They're moistened by our tears and by the rains which come to an end even on the longest drought. They send down roots and then they bloom. May we believe in those seeds and the seeds within us. May we remember in our dry seasons that we too are desert flowers. Amen.
Join me in the word with the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please stand and body your spirit for our closing blessing song.
Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.